Hi everyone, it's Karen Williams, the book mentor here, and today I am delighted to be interviewing Kate Barrett. Now, Kate is the founder of eFocus Marketing and the Email Marketing Academy, providing specialist email marketing consultancy, management and training services to companies all around the world. Now, her new book is E-telligence, Email Marketing Isn't Dead, the Way You're Using It Is, and that's published through Libertas Books. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. Looking forward to it.
So I think, the question I like to ask all authors when they come on one of these interviews is, what inspired you to write your book, and what got you going with it?
Absolutely. So I started working in email marketing about 13 years ago, and I worked brand side, so directly for brands who were advertising their products and services to their customers. And I got to the point in my career where I wanted to be able to help more people, which is why I set up my email marketing agency, eFocus Marketing. And having the book was really a natural progression from there. So I got inspired by a few events, kind of seeing content that you'd put out there as well, as to how useful having a book can be as part of your marketing strategy. So for me, it was all about helping to further solidify my reputation as an authority in the industry, to get my name out there to businesses, to be able to really use the book as a lead generation tool, and to get my knowledge out to as many people as possible, to be able to really help to change the way that people see email marketing and the way they use it in their businesses. So really to help them think more from a customer first strategy approach, really understanding what their customers need and then how they put that into place in their business. So it was A, to help people, and B, really kind of from a business point of view, to be that authority and to use as a lead generation tool.
Yeah, and how's it working for you?
Really, really well. So I think we're up to about 950 copies sold in terms of total number of orders. So for me, it's been fantastic. So one of the things that I did, and I think you will need to talk about today, was I used a little bit of a different strategy from a lot of people writing their book. So in order to cover the cost of having the hybrid publishing with you guys, and the fantastic coaching that you gave me as well to help me write the book, to cover that cost and to help get copies out immediately, I got sponsors involved. So in terms of those sponsors, part of the package was for them to have a case study in the book, but it was also for them to have a number of copies of the book as part of that package for them to give out to customers and prospects. So immediately I had that bulk order from the sponsors that got us started. So in terms of pre-order sales, I could say we've sold 400 copies before it's even got out there.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Well, exactly, and I've had a lot of people say to me, whoa, how did you sell that many copies before you'd even launched it? And that's how I did it, was through the sponsorship and through the bulk orders that effectively came through that. I also got bulk orders from other companies that I was partnering with. So I had a company who had employed me to speak at one of their events. And actually that event was run in 3 different locations to over 450 people doing live person-to-person training. So at their conference. So they bought a copy for every single participant there. So amazing. That gave me a really big bulk order. I think the key thing here is that we then did the Amazon launch, and we've done all of those fantastic things. But the key thing is to have a look at your network that you have already. Where can you you say this all the time, Karen, where can you tap into your network to help you promote your book? And in my case, to actually buy copies of the book. So it's been a really fantastic experience.
Fabulous. Well, tell us a bit about the sponsorship, because I know that's one of my later questions, but you're talking about it now. How did you get people involved, and how did you get their buy-in to sponsor your book?
Great question. So the first thing was telling them what was going on, just literally tapping into my network of people that I knew at companies that were a good fit with what my company does. So we provide email marketing consultancy, management and training. So the companies that I went to were technology companies, basically. So they either did email verification, they were email service providers. So we had Pure 360 and Response Genius, who are actually email service providers. We had Fresh Address, who are the email validation. We had Return Path, who provide provide a platform where you can actually see what's going on with your emails in terms of deliverability and inbox placement, and a whole load of other fantastic statistics. I'm trying to think who I left out. Taxi for Email. So Taxi for Email provide another platform where you can actually build your emails in a modular fashion and import those into your email service provider. So all of the sponsors were complementary to what we offer. So that was my first port of call, was to think about who's complementary and what can they add. So when I was building out the sponsor package, I thought, how is this going to be useful to the people reading the book? Because at the end of the day, that's the main thing. Me getting help to pay for it, is helpful. But it's got to be useful for the people in the book. So what I did was, as the key part of the package, it was them including a case study in the book. So the case study wasn't a sales pitch. It was an illustration of how they could implement a key piece of best practice that I'd just been talking about actually into their business in reality. So it backed up all of the content. So they had that as part of their package. And then they also had the ability to add a video onto an online platform that I did to accompany the book. So throughout the book, there are various tasks that people can do. I then uploaded those as workbooks that people could download into a free online membership. And as part of that, the sponsors also got, space in there. One of the key things, and actually one thing that I finished doing this morning with one of the sponsors, is that I said to them, okay, so as part of your package, we'll partner on a webinar. So, I'll come onto a webinar with you. I will create some content. We'll have that discussion. However you want to run it is absolutely fine, but that's part of the package. So I've now got all of these sponsors now not only sending the books out to their audience, because they've got, 50 copies of the book sitting in their office that they want to send. But I've got, we had over 500 people register for a webinar this morning.
Wow.
So obviously we've got joint opt-ins on that as well. So growing my email list through the book going out. I've literally just got off of a call with a prospect who was on that webinar, who is now interested in working with us in a consultancy point of view. So the sponsors really were not just about selling books. We're not just about getting the case study in the books, but it's that wider marketing of it post-book launch that they've now helped with as well. So it was that dual aspect. So to come back to your original question of, kind of how I went about it, tap into your network, look at who can offer you a great partnership in that sense, is complementary to what you offer, and then basically go and pitch to them. Say to them, hey, look, this is what I'm doing. Would you like to get involved? If you would, this is what I'm thinking about. This is the price of it. I had different levels of sponsorship they could get involved in.
You had 3 levels, didn't you, Kate?
Yeah, I did. So each level had a number of books. So you had either 50 books or 75 books at the top end. And then it was dependent on the length of the case study that you could have in the book, the number of case studies you wanted in the book, the length of the video on the online site. And then they all included a webinar, because that's marketing for the book and for me. So that was a key thing to get it out there. But basically just make that list and go and pitch to them.
It's brilliant. I love the success you had, and it was interesting working with someone who's got a very different idea, and obviously you're walking your talk with your own email list and the marketing you've done off the back of it as well.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, in terms of getting the book out there, your social media, your own email list, but then using the book to grow your email list as well. So by having that online site, I've got an opt-in. When they go and put their details in, they can opt in to receive email marketing from me. The webinars that I've done with the sponsors, we've had opt-ins on those. So opt-ins to receive emails from them, of course, but also from me as their partner. So I'm growing my email list that way. All of these elements linked together to create a marketing strategy, not just for the launch, but to help you grow your business going forward. So, the book is so invaluable to do all of these things. It really creates much more than you ever think it will be by writing a book.
But you've got that strategic focus. And I think one of the things I love about working with you, Kate, is that, you've got the knowledge of the email marketing, but you've got that strategic focus, even though we had a few challenges along the way, didn't we? Certainly, I can't remember how long it was, but suddenly I sort of lost contact with you for a short while, then found out you were pregnant. So you gave birth to a baby and a book within a couple of years.
Yeah, so it was a year and a half from first thinking about it and finding you to actually us getting it published. And at that point where I decided to write it, it was within about a month or 2 months, I found out I was pregnant. And then, as anyone who's been pregnant knows, the first 3 months are never particularly great. And obviously you're not talking about the fact that you're pregnant, but you're feeling enormously sick, very tired, all of those kind of things. So
I had a bit of an inkling, though, I will say that.
I gave you a clue.
Yeah, there's a clue or two in there. I'm not feeling very well at the moment. Yeah. I haven't done the first, yeah.
And it went on for a while, and that we had a deadline for being published, and like that. So yes, there was definitely a few clues, but for me, actually, it worked out really well. So once I got past that initial sickness, I had a finite period of time that I had to get this book written in if it was ever going to get published, if we were going to get it out there. So that was actually really key. And for me, where I started winding up in terms of my client project work, handing that over to my other consultants, anything I was doing directly myself, handing that over, I then effectively freed up some time where I could actually focus on the book. And I think that I may have found that difficult otherwise, but it's something that I highly recommend. So pregnant or not, my key thing was I needed to, and I know people write in different ways, but I needed chunks of time. Doing the whole an hour a day, that wasn't for me, because what I found is I got to the end of the hour and I was just getting into my writing flow. So if you can block out a day at a time, or go and take yourself away for a week and break the back of it. And for me, I'm not very good at writing. It's something that I've always struggled with. So for me, my strategy in terms of actually writing the book and knowing I had this deadline in place and I had to get it done, and you were absolutely critical in keeping on at me that you had this deadline, and I know I missed it a couple of times due to baby issues and things, but I had this finite amount of time. And for me, as somebody who isn't great at writing, finds it very difficult to sit in front of a blank piece of paper. The first thing that was critical to the process was the planning day that I did with you. Without that, I would have struggled so much to do that on my own and then go ahead and write. So number one, do that planning day with you. If you're thinking about writing a book, I highly recommend having that coaching day. Absolutely fundamental, because what that then gave me was those post-it notes basically to go, right, today, this is the section I'm focusing on.
Yeah.
Brain dump everything that I can on that topic. It doesn't matter if it makes sense, doesn't matter if it's full sentences or individual words. And that's, how I work. Other people might work in a more cohesive way, but I basically do a brain dump first. Then I go back over it and start to take those bullet points and key pieces of information and put them into legible sentences, and then just keep going back over it. So that was the way that worked best for me in terms of how to get started and how to break the back of the content, because once you've got something down for each chapter, you feel a lot better about where you are with the book, and you can start going back through and starting that editing process basically.
Oh, what was great is that you worked out you had a 5-step process, and when you've got a process or a system and you know what the chapter headings are, it makes it so much easier to write it, because you've got something that you've got a piece of information. Where does it go? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can put that in. There's, with some people there's overlap, and I'm sure there was overlap with yours, but when you've got that structure to begin with, the actual writing it becomes so much easier. And I'm like you, I'm much better. When I wrote Book Marketing Made Simple, I took myself away one Easter actually, and I wrote 20,000 words in that weekend, because I know that I work best that way, and everyone's different when it comes to writing.
Yeah, exactly. But I think break the back of it in whatever way works for you. Set yourself some deadlines, break the back of it, get that key information written down. And, look, that plan that we did at the beginning, it certainly evolved from that first day. And as I started writing it, I thought, oh, actually, I need to take that bit from there and move it into there. And like you say, there was some overlap, and I had to figure out as I was writing it, how that overlap would work. But the other thing about the structure is understand your audience, understand what they need. So I can't tell you how many times now since publishing the book, I've had conversations with prospective clients, and my book structure has been so bang on with what they need, how they work, how they would go through it, and how I work with my clients in terms of a process anyway. you know, to be honest with you, it's a light bulb moment every single time I do that. And you know, I've had a couple of times over the last few months since we launched where I was at an event, for example, and I was doing my kind of general thing of I randomly sit down next to people because it's the only way to network, right? So I was randomly sitting next to people at different it was a day's event, and I was sitting next to people in different seminars, and I sat down next to a guy and just got chatting to him, and he looked at me and he said, I've got a copy of your book. And oh my gosh, when you don't know who it is that you're talking to and they say that, and he said, it has changed the way that I'm creating my email marketing strategy in my business. Wow. That was amazing. Yesterday I ran a live event, and I had a guy in the room who he was so excited to meet me. It was amazing. And he said, I read your book in a day. It was so good. I couldn't put it down. It is the best book I've ever found to lead me through step by step. It totally made sense to me. And, you know, you gave me the tasks to do in between. You know, that kind of feedback.
That's amazing.
All the difference. It really feels brilliant, but it comes from understanding who your audience are and what they need from you. So, you know, do that research first, you know, understand that structure that they need and how you can make it as consumable for them as possible.
Well, it provides the foundation with those two people that have given you feedback. If you were to work with them further, you don't necessarily need to cover some of the ground you've covered in the book. You just build on it with that personal touch, don't you? And I think that's a great thing about a book. It becomes the foundation of everything you do, and everything else is that bespoke, you know, cherry on the top, really, isn't it?
It is. And it's, you know, look, there's only so much you can put in a book, you know, and I have put a lot into it, you know.
I know. So much. It's quite a chunky one.
Oh yes, there's a lot of value in it, but you know, certainly in terms of what happens after the book, you know, when people come forward and work with you, you can help them work through what you've told them in the book, because just because you tell someone something and explain it doesn't mean that they're going to get it and be able to then go on and implement it themselves, or they haven't got the time. It means that they completely understand it and understand what they would need to do, because obviously, you know, you want the content to be able to show them how to do it, and that's what the tasks in my book are about, is actually taking action on the knowledge. So that's a really key thing for me. But in terms of that next step, they might go, whoa, okay, I know I need to do this. I totally get it. I buy into it. Do you know what? Actually, I want you as the expert to come in and talk my team through doing it, to, you know, to show us how we do it for our business specifically, because we've got some nuances that I'm not sure how we work around this. It's all of those, like you say, extra personal bits that you can then go on and work with people for consultancy, for example.
Yeah, well, your book yourself, you know, when you're writing a book, you can only imagine what people are going through. You can only imagine, you know, through a bit of research, what they actually want. You can't include everything, because every client I work with, there's certain things I will do with them, but there are those nuances, those different things that you can only add value when you get to know them as a person, as a business, so you know what they actually need themselves.
Absolutely. And what their business culture is, how they work, what data they have, you know, everything like that will be different for different businesses. So in the book, you give people the foundation to move forward with. And then as your extra services, whether that's an online course, whether that's consultancy or whatever that might be, that's the next step in the journey and the personalization.
Yeah, so it's having that real call to action at the end of the book, how you can help them further. The case studies drip feed, you know, real life examples of how you've worked with them, and also real life examples from your sponsors as well. So all it adds a huge amount of value, as you say.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what other tips have you got for other budding authors who are thinking about writing a book, or maybe they've started and they want some you know, real life examples from someone who's been there, done that, and got the t-shirt?
Sure. So if you're thinking about doing it, stop thinking about it and just do it.
Yeah, it sounds good to me.
Absolutely. Get that strategy planned out, get that flow planned out for that content, start brain dumping, get it on a page. You know, the hardest part for me, I've got to say, was the editing process. By the time you've read your book 3 or 4 times and you get to the 5th and the 6th and the 7th time, it's difficult. I'm not going to lie to you. That is the hardest part. Actually getting the content down on paper, do it. Just do it. block that time out, get it written down. It's the editing that's the harder part, because you're having to reread stuff that you've read before. But obviously, you guys at Libertas are amazing at, the grammar and the copywriting side, and making sure that it all makes sense, that you're not repeating yourself. We're all likely to do that. So, my tip is, just do it. Get that key information down, get that plan in place, key information down. And if you've started writing it and you're struggling, go back to that original plan. Like I said, I can't stress how important that original planning day with you was, because it gave me that flow. And like I said, I did adapt it as we went through, but it gave me the basis of all the key elements I was going to include. So if you're struggling, go back to that. Block out some time to get a chunk written. Those would probably be my key tips. And then really think about how you're going to get that book out there, who you can tap into in your network, all the things that you say all the time, Karen. Think about how you're going to incorporate it into everything that you do. So I'm now launching a podcast and a YouTube channel that's going to come off of the back of the book. I've got podcasts that I've appeared on that are now going live, that are advertising the book. There is so much you can do to pull out all of these pieces. The book is then your center that everything else gravitates around. So, I've sent free copies of the book out to prospective clients. I take it to meetings. It really is, it's my best friend.
It's with you wherever you go.
Absolutely, for good and bad. It's there.
Fabulous. So I was about to ask you what's next, but obviously you've got a lot going on. I know when we started today, you were saying that you've done a webinar, you did an event yesterday, you've obviously got this other event coming up. So there's a lot going on for you. Is there another book? I have to ask that $1 million question.
Probably not at the moment. So my focus at the moment is really getting this book out there into the hands of as many prospective clients as possible. And it is that longer term burn. So my aim for my business at the moment is increasing my lead generation. So we have a really good flow of leads right now, but I want to increase that, grow the business, and that starts with leads. The book is fundamental to getting new leads, whether that's speaking at events, whether that's doing podcasts, blogs, all of those kind of things are absolutely key. So the next big thing is the podcast and YouTube channel. So having the video content, but we'll also publish the audio as a podcast as well. And that will be, again, all the key themes in the book. We're going to break it down. I'm going to have guests coming on. We're going to be doing creative reviews. So lots and lots more content, again, with the book as the very central heart of that. So I'll use, the book title really to flow into everything. The webinars that I do at the moment, all of those things are, absolutely in line with that content. So keep moving forward with that. And even past, when we get through this kind of initial run with the book, it's always going to be there for me to put myself forward as that authority figure.
Absolutely. So how can people find out more about you and your book, Kate?
Sure. So you can either go to Amazon and type in E-telligence, so E-telligence, and you'll find it on Amazon UK, Amazon US. You can obviously Google it and it will come up. But if you want more information, you can also go to e-focusmarketing.com. That's my website. That's where you can get in contact with us to find out about the services that we provide at eFocus Marketing. And of course, there's a link there that you can click on to go and find yourself a copy.
Fabulous.
Of the book.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I know there's so much information. You've achieved so much with your book so far. So wish you all the greatest success in the future.
Thank you, Karen, and thank you to you and the whole team at Libertas for helping me get this book into fruition, designed, copywritten, and finally published. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'll see you soon. Thanks a lot.